Good evening. Vishnu. Thank you for joining so much well in advance. I was expecting more of us, but I'll start, and if somebody has to come, they will come. So, welcome again. So, let's start with just 1 minute of silence, just to gather ourselves, focusing on the breath, the in and the out, so that we can be fully here and invoking the Mother and Sri Aurobindo so that we can see more than the usual that we see. So just for a moment. Yes, thank you. So in the circle, we have been exploring the purpose of human life. And last week, we started with some passage from Nirodha, and it was about connecting to the truth within. And we ended by sharing a passage from the sunlit part. So we were yet to reflect on it together. So I'll share that. It was in connection with connecting to the truth within. And the passage from the sunlit part, the title is The Materialism of Modern Times. If in case you have the capacity to unmute and read it for us, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll read it. Yeah, so I'll go ahead. The materialism of modern times. At that time, the time of the Buddha, to live a spiritual life was a joy, a beatitude, the happiest state which freed you from all the troubles of the world, all the sufferings, all the cares, making you happy, satisfied, contented. It is the materialism of modern times that has turned spiritual effort into a hard struggle and a sacrifice, a painful renunciation of all the so-called joys of life. This insistence on the exclusive reality of the physical world, of physical pleasures, physical joys, physical possessions, is the result of the whole materialistic tendency of human civilization. It was unthinkable in ancient times. On the contrary, withdrawal, concentration, liberation from all material cares, consecration to the spiritual joy, that was happiness indeed. From this point of view, it is quite evident that humanity is far from having progressed. And those who were born into the world in the centers of materialistic civilization have in their subconscious this horrible notion that only material realities are real and that to be concerned with things that are not material represents a wonderful spirit of sacrifice, an almost sublime effort, not to be preoccupied from dawn to dusk and from dusk to dawn with all the little physical satisfactions, physical pleasures, physical sensations, physical preoccupations, is to bear evidence of a remarkable spirit. This passage ends here. So basically, we were discussing how difficult it is, these days to try and connect with the truth within. And this is, one of the reasons, this materialism of modern time. And those of us who have lost someone, especially somebody who has been close to us, they specifically would know that, physical is not all that there is. And yet, in the world that we live, physical is what seems to be, the all of it. So I start by believing that I am the body. And then, very soon, if I am attentive and I see facts, I see that I have a body. Yes. So otherwise, I think this passage is pretty self-explanatory. So in case there are any comments or any reflections, they are welcome. Otherwise, I'll pull up Nirodha's document that we were reading. Well, assuming you don't have the capacity to read, I will start from the simple old wisdom. So this is a document. The name is The Creative Soul, and it is by Aurobindo. The simple old wisdom still remains the eternal wisdom. It is because we fall off from our soul that we wander into side paths, paths that do not belong to our real nature, and hence that lead to imitation and repetition, decay and death. This is what happens to what we call common souls. The force of circumstances, the pressure of environment, or simply the momentum of custom or habit compel them to choose the easiest and the readiest way that may lie before them. They do not consult the demand of the inner being, but the requirement of the moment. Our bodily needs, our vital hungers, and our mental prejudices obsess and obscure the impulsions that thrill the hidden spirit. So, taking a pause here. Because we are disconnected, from the truth within which they are calling the soul here, that we wander onto side paths that is not our real nature. And that is why there's so much imitation and repetition and monotony and People get bored so soon. And here it says decay and death. Because there is no newness, there is no creativity that we were discussing last time. The force of circumstances, the pressure of environment, or simply the momentum of custom or habit compel them to choose the easiest before them. I remember a passage from the Bhagavad-Gita, and in that too, I don't remember the exact words, but it said something in the same effect that, it's not that we cannot go for bigger goals, higher goals, but because, the smaller goals look so attractive and so easily accomplishable that we keep pushing the higher goals, further away. And that is the reason why the life has less meaning. And that is how a life can have more meaning when we go for higher goals. And higher here again doesn't mean materially higher, but the goals that take us towards the truth. So while making most of our decisions, we do not consult the inner being, the inner voice. We keep suppressing it. But we just look at the circumstances, the requirements, how it's said here, right? The needs, the hungers, my preferences, my patterns, my culture, my weather, and obscure the impulsions that thrill the hidden spirit. So at any point, if there is anything, please feel free to unmute, otherwise I'll proceed. We hasten to gratify the immediate and forget the eternal. We clutch at the shadow and let go the substance. We are carried away in the flux and tumult of life. It is a mixed and collective world, a wild kiss that moves and governs us. We are helpless straws drifting in the current. But manhood demands that we stop and pause, pull ourselves out of the maelstrom and be what we are. We must shape things as we want and not allow things to shape us as they want. Pausing here. The extent of basic, this instant gratification has been increasing and increasing, and our lifestyles and how easy things are, that you just there's Uber Eats, there is immediately you press a button and anything is possible, and for the card you don't even have to swipe, it's just you tap. How things are seemingly becoming easier and easier, and we are getting so used to the easy and the comfortable that we forget the eternal. So here it even says that we clutch at the shadow and let go the substance. I mean, that's pretty extreme for somebody to do that, especially the somebody who says who wants the truth. We are carried away in the flux and the tumult of life. So if we live like this, we are helpless straws drifting in the current, without a center, We can just flow anywhere, and we do flow everywhere. Here it was said above that we are more than our circumstances. But does my life, I don't know, reflect that? Anything happens, small or big, I get distracted, I get reactive. So that is me being a helpless straw, drifting in the current. But manhood demands that we stop and pause, pull ourselves, and be what we are. We must shape things as we want and not allow things to shape us as they want. It's like I have so much power, but I have forgotten that power, and it feels like this document is reminding us of the power that I have. I'm moving on. At any point, if there's any question, any reflection. So, Aditi, we are continuing with the document that we had taken up last time, the creative soul.
Thank you, Taro.
Let each take cognizance of the Godhead that is within him, for self is God, and in the strength of the soul divinity, create his universe. It does not matter what sort of universe he creates, so as long as he creates it. The world created by a Buddha is not the same as that created by a Napoleon, nor should they be the same. It does not prove anything that I cannot become a Kalidas. For that matter, Kalidas cannot become what I am. If you have not the genius of a Shankara, it does not mean that you have no genius at all. Be and become yourself. Ma Vriddha Kasyachit Dhanam, says the Upanishad. It's kind of, reminding me of, the Ramayana when Hanuman, when he had to cross the ocean and he said, I can fly, but I cannot fly for that long. And everybody reminded, right, Hanuman, that, oh, you do have the power, but you have forgotten. So somehow it's reminding me of that I have to recognize the Godhead that is within me, and that strength that created the universe. We say that God is omnipresent, but do we believe that? We omnipresent would mean that he's everywhere all the time in each and everything. I don't think our lives are reflective of that. The smallness that we keep feeling all the time, I am not good enough, or I have to pretend or put up, faces to be more. That means that, I'm trying to become someone I am not. Because somewhere I feel that by being just me, that would not cut it. But the good thing is we get tired, right? It might take 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50. If we are lucky, we get tired. Yeah. I thought this was really beautiful, that it does not matter what sort of universe he creates, so long as he creates it. Because so many times when we are thinking of doing something, especially because here the article is referring, not the article, but the passage is referring to creativity. When we are trying to do something, especially which is a little bit not conventional, which is unique, which is coming from within, I have so many doubts that is it good enough? Would people like it? But there would be so many like these. I don't think this is okay. I don't think it is needed. It's such a waste of time. But here it is being said that it does not matter what sort of universe he creates, so long as he creates it. So it's not about what comes out of it, because each of us have a different journey. We are so unique and yet so similar in so many ways. And here the example used is that Buddha's world, what he created, was different than a Napoleon. And it cannot be the same, because if it would be the same, again, it would be imitation and repetition and no originality. It's reminding me of the question, that came up last week. I wish the person was here today as well, about, how not to follow norms. And when I see competition, how do I go about it? Yeah, moving on. So it does not prove anything that I cannot become a Kalidas. For that matter, he cannot become me. So basically, the crux here is be and become yourself, says the Upanishad. Be and become yourself. I think, here the issue is that how do I become myself when I don't remember anymore who or what I am? From the beginning, there is so many impressions and so many conditionings that, especially in today's world, today's society, that is being done on, starting from a really young age, that it's very difficult for anybody to stay in touch with themselves, unless, of course, the parents are very conscious and, they want to protect and preserve the originality of children and of themselves. And we have, these role models, and we just, instead of getting inspired to create, to do more, we just want to be like them. We start dressing up like them. We start, I don't know, eating like them. The hairstyles are like that. We see somebody who we like and we just want to be like them. So we choose the same profession. We choose the same talking style. The personas that we pick up. And once we are ready to give up those personas, it feels like the journey inwards, the coming back. I remember again in the Upanishads, once I was reading and it said something like this, that, when a child is born, we tell the child that, okay, this is your name, this is your father, mother, your aunt, your uncle. Like we give him so many relationships, we tie him at so many places. And when he begins, when what they call Dwij, the second births that the ones that are fortunate, that become, seekers, and they have a second birth, that what is this life all about? I want to know. So then the child breaks all the child or the adult in that question has to now go backwards. That no bondages, I don't, not no that relationship, there is no attachment. You detach. So feels quite similar to that. So be and become yourself, says the Buddhist. So pausing here in case of any questions, comments, reflections.
Sorry, I'm driving. No, I think it's quite beautiful, and I really like what you said, right? Be and become, which we normally don't do or take out the time, and just try to follow. I think this is really nice reflection on that, and just finding your true self and just be, right? So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And a lot of times we feel that this is just wordplay, right? What is true self? I'm so lost and enamored by the obvious that the true self can feel like, a joke or unnecessary. But then, pain hits us, we are suffering, life gets monotonous, it doesn't make sense. So then that forces us to pay attention again, that what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? Or what can I do right? So I'll read ahead. The fountainhead of creative genius lies there in the free choice and the particular delight, the self determination of the spirit within you, and not in the desire for your neighbor's riches. The world has become dull and uniform and mechanical since everybody endeavors to become not himself, but always somebody else. Imitation is servitude, and servitude brings in grief. I think this is really amazing. The self determination of the spirit within you. That's where the fountainhead of the creative genius lies. Self determination of the spirit within you, and not in the desire for your neighbor's riches. So just a question, a reflection on what exactly is it that I am seeking? And what exactly is the scope of that which I'll get, even if I get what I'm seeking? Because the nature of desire is that it never gets satisfied, right? And whatever that mostly I'm desiring is transitory. Is there even a single desire, a single true aspiration of something which will not end with the body? How they say, especially in India, that which you can take with you, once you drop the body. So again, these questions might not mean much to somebody who's having a great time, who's pretty happy with how things are turning out to be. But for those who are tired and who want to know now, truly know, for them there is not a question which would be more important, that what am I going towards? What am I moving towards? How, Sri Aurobindo says that an aimless life is a miserable life. Because then, how we read in the para before that, otherwise you're just like a straw, that it's just being, wherever the flow is going, you're going there. And you're just desiring what everybody's desiring, not even wanting it most of the time, but just because, that's in fashion. I would like to share here that it has even happened to me that, I've been sitting, say, and somebody comes and says something. Say, for example, my sister would come and she would be like, where are you going for vacation on the long weekend? And it's like, I would be like that, nowhere, I don't really want to go somewhere. And she's like, oh, come on, you must go. It's fun and stuff. And I say no to her, that no, I am quite okay. But I don't even know that how that desire, becomes you, that I would find myself now wanting to go somewhere. And initially, it's very subtle. That, okay, yeah, maybe she's right. Maybe it is okay to go out and stuff. And the funny thing is that if it doesn't happen, if I find challenges or, everybody else is not in agreement and stuff, then I'll start getting irritated and frustrated and even angry. So when I saw this, just like it, just an example, but things like this, I was very surprised and I stopped myself and I was like, wait a second. Right now I'm getting frustrated at something that I did not even want. How did it become my desire? So just sharing this, because a lot of times I've seen that the things that I am moving toward or I'm wanting in my life, they do not even originate in me. They're just borrowed desires that I don't need to pick up. And if I do pick up, a desire becomes a desire. Mother says in the sunlit part, we had read it the other day, that it's having a desire is not a problem. Wanting something is not a problem. But this thing that if I don't get it, this feverishness or this response that comes within, that I have to have it, that is the source of suffering and pain. Otherwise, we do want things, we do want to become somebody and do things. But if it's not done in an offered way, that for example, that, I'm wanting something and I'm just offer it that, mother, if, and whoever we believe in, that, mother, this is what I think would be good for me. And now I offer you. Or this is what I think I want to do. And now it's yours, right? If you want to make it happen, you make it happen. And I can, work for it, towards it, but without any feverishness, without any, oh my God, what will happen if it doesn't happen? Because we start with good intentions, but a lot of times, we get sidetracked, we get influenced, and we lose the reason why we began in the first place. And that's really sad. It's really sad when you see that happen within and around you, when we forget what the intention is. Once, I think around maybe 10 years back or something, I was in Vrindavan, and my parents, my mother's guru, it was his death anniversary. So they had a 50th, I don't know, death anniversary or something. And they had a big gathering in Vrindavan. And I think 3 out of the 4 Shankaracharyas, in India, how there are 4 Shankaracharyas of different regions, the 4 regions of India, they had also come. And that was my first time, being in their presence and stuff. And when people were remembering the Guru and saying very nice things about him, because he was pretty amazing, Swami Akhand Anandji. But when the Shankaracharys got the mic, they were like, the Muslims, they're just creating havoc, and in that region, this is happening, in that region, this is happening. And we'll just kill all of them, like the it was unbelievable that a Shankaracharya, I mean, a Shankaracharya means something, he's the head of the Hindu religion. And religions, they say they are for peace, they are for love, they are a way, they are there to show us how to live. And the heads of that mutt are talking about violence and suppression and anger. And everybody was so happy that yes, 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 we must protect Hinduism. And the question is why? Why would you want to protect something if the leaders are saying what they are saying? It was very shocking for me, and I would never forget it. I don't know why, what prompted me to share it here, but yeah, just the intention. We keep forgetting the intention of why we are doing something in the first place. Now, I see it with like children also, that, when we are raising kids, sometimes we get so focused on the discipline that we keep forgetting the love, that we want them to be loved. We want them to be contented. We want them to be happy. So just remembering why we are doing things, I feel, is very helpful. Very helpful, and it keeps us on the right path. Yes, we are a very small group today. Usually there are so many more reflections and questions. So anything before we move forward?
We are a quiet group.
Yeah. So the second paragraph of what we just read, again, I very strongly resonate with this, that the world has become dull and uniform and mechanical. This mechanical nature is so evident. We all want to dress alike. We want the same things, and the aspirations and the aims of most people are the same. Sometimes it feels that it's like, we are just boxes from a factory, all are supposed to look the same, and some could be bigger, some could be smaller in sizes, but probably built to serve the same purpose. Our education system, again, just, I think want to go there. It's another discussion. But this is happening because we all want to become not ourselves, but somebody else. Because somewhere I am told that if I am somebody else, that perfect definition of that somebody from the society, it's then that I will get complete. It is then that I will feel, that completion, and everybody would say that, oh my God, wow, what a life lived. But it never is that, right? It never is that. And for that, I don't know, approvals or praise or brownie points that I can never cash anywhere, my whole life is spent doing things that I don't want to do, but that I feel is, my responsibility, my duty. It looks good. It makes sense because it makes more money, gives me more respect, but it doesn't do anything for, my inner growth. So imitation is servitude, and servitude brings in grief. No wonder why there is so much pain and suffering, more and more and more, now more than ever. So imitation is servitude, and servitude brings in grief. And it's pretty amazing that when we hear about, say, slavery, and we had Desmond Tutu, we had seen the movie, there's a movie Mission Joy, and in that we were introduced to Desmond Tutu, and there also, the movements, the anti-slavery movements and all, that when it's outside, even today, when we see a movie about slavery, we feel very offended. We feel very frustrated that how could this ever happen? Even say, the colonization of India or, the other parts of the world, it feels pretty unbelievable. And yet we are okay with servitude. We are okay with compliance. We are okay following things that we don't believe in. And we don't even see that that is slavery. I mean, how interesting is that? Like, how blind are we? It's pretty amazing.
It's funny you said that. I was thinking about it today. I was like working and I'm like, okay, I don't really care for this. And then it's like, this is the modern form of slavery. And I don't, I was like, okay, but it's funny. I know it's not as deep, but but then it's kind of like you just go through the motions. You're following people, you're doing what you're told to do. And then you kind of also expect your kids to do the same too, right? Oh, you have to do what I'm saying. So there is two forms, right? One is like discipline. You want them to be, responsible individuals, but not losing their individuality. But it's well said, like what you said, right? Like we are modern form of slavery, run behind money, make money, live in big houses. That's rather than it's like let's take a step back and see, is this really something that brings me happiness, or this is what I seek. So it's funny. I was just thinking at 3 o'clock today, this towards the end of my day, I was like, oh, I'm free.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
To add something about the freedom struggle.
I don't want to go there.
Let Taru loves to talk about freedom struggle, and her blood used to boil. I don't know how it would be.
Oh no, it still boils. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, this thing only, that some of us could not stand being slaves to somebody else, and because of them only we got freedom. So I think that's also very indicative that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I tend to thank such people because they give me an opportunity to think about things and grow as an individual, because I learn more about myself. So I am always very grateful for such people in my life who make my life difficult, because so whenever I'm in that situation, it's like, okay, what do I need to learn here? Can I learn? And then, but it's important. And that's the way to growth too, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's what Sri Aurobindo shares when he talks about the Aryan spirit. This is what, what you just shared, that every difficulty, every obstacle is a way just towards greater progress. So wonderful. Yeah.
But honestly, with the way things are mostly, like especially talking about the big picture, sometimes like, I wonder that was, say, Bhagat Singh's or, Sahdev's or Chandrasekhar Azad's sacrifice worth it, right? It doesn't feel, the way I live, the way I see everybody living. And how, if when we are reading this, that we are serving anyways, right? There's no real freedom in the way that I am living. What good is the freedom of a country if the heart and the brain, the mind of all its citizens, like not all, but still all considering the number, is a slave, is just into imitations and repetitions and yeah.
That's very true, right? Like that's where I feel like we got the freedom, and then what did we do? Half of us migrated to different countries, and now we are serving. So it's very true. What you said. Huh.
When you were sharing, it feels like there are two kinds of servitudes one can see here. So one is this outer servitude, which which very palpable, that we are serving big corporate giants. We don't much wonder what they are doing really. But if it's a job which is relatively not directly murdering people, we are very happy doing it. For example, Pepsi or sorry, sorry to use that
Like
word.
directly
So
killing people.
yeah, so we feel that people take really great honor and pride in telling someone that, see, I am the CEO of whatever, Pepsi, and we don't really see what these things are doing to us. Really, I mean, we are putting acid in our stomach all the time, and we are taking so much pride in that. So along with this outer servitude, serving things and companies in the name of having money that I need to sustain for the family and all that. And one question that one needs to ask also is that, do we really need that much? Do we really need that much? Because I see personally that we don't really need that much. So it's a good way of fooling. And the second servitude I see is that, uh, being a slave of our thoughts, being a rigid slave of our opinions, dogmas, not being able to disidentify at will from our thoughts. So Mother talks about this, Mother Shri Aurobindo talks about self-mastery. So I think there also a lot of work needs to be done. And that's what he shares, that the real freedom is this freedom from being a slave to the thought. So at will, you can either use the thought or stop. Can we do at will?
Hmm.
So lots of
Okay.
work to be done. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I think I see the difference, and I have ways to go on the second one, which is the thought, the will that you can stop the thought. Right now, I'm in the way where it's like at least I'm acknowledging them and letting them pass. But that, yeah. So, but you're right. There are two kinds, and that's the ultimate, right? If you are able to control your thoughts, and you are golden.
Yeah. And Mother shares that again, thought is a power, imagination is a power. So it's not that we have to abandon these tools. But right now, if I look at my condition, it's most like I can't help the thoughts. It's like ta 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 ta, and I'm just dictated by it. So to reach, to use this life and all its experiences towards this sadhana of self mastery, where at least some power you get over, when you want to concentrate, okay, I can concentrate. It's not like the feelings are so overwhelming that they are not letting you. So I hope for all of us, and that will come a time when we will, yeah.
I'll share an example. And it's kind of sad, right? So I have all my life struggled with my weight, like just being overweight, and I think I'm at a good spot now, but like still having those thoughts, and it's so interesting. And I'm at that stage where it's like, dude, like, you're in your 40s, you can have control over your actions. The thought comes first, you don't have to act on it, right? So I have started doing like mindful eating. Like, I don't do anything, I just sit and eat, focus on my food. And then I can't tell you, I'm eating 1/3 of what I used to eat, and I feel full. And then while I'm eating that, I'm like, okay, I can, like, it's nourishing my body, my mind. And so it's just small things, but it's really interesting that how you can be such a slave to your thoughts that, at 40 years, you're still dealing with that. But yeah, I mean, I think, but it's the step in the right direction, right? So it's progress, it's growth.
The patterns, the conditionings, the expectations, the ways of the world does not seem like something wrong. When do we change things? We change things when we think there's something wrong about them. But if I feel that, being, I don't know, whatever size, for example, just using the same example, is perfect, right? I have to be that to be recognized, to be liked, to like my own self, then I don't even realize what I am
Yeah.
doing. Right? That's the issue, that it's so much grace to be able to even see that is something not okay here, right? Like that, this is slavery. Otherwise, we just don't
Right.
realize we are in a slavery. Yeah.
Right. And I think there are two parts to it too, right? So one is the part where you said that, like, am I doing this because the society expects us to look a certain way? So then I feel your motivation is not as much, because it will be like, oh, it's shallow, right? Because it's like, okay, at some point you'll be like, you know what, I don't care, I look the way, I do the way. So one is that external. I think the other part is like, when you realize that what a healthy living is, or why I need to do it, like to be making better choices, to be not doing things, it's because I'm doing it for my own, like body, mind. It's your, so I think then the motivation is much more deeper and more internal than external, and that's where it sticks, right? So I think that's also a big difference in your, where the motivation is coming from. Now you're not doing it for others, you're doing it for yourself, and how you feel when you eat better, you're able to do more things, so yes. I think, yeah, I think you say it much nicely, I just say it in
No, that's not true. Thank you so much for the sharing. So, I'll screen share again, and let's see if we can take a little bit before we end. We were at imitation is servitude, and servitude brings in grief. So, if anybody can unmute and read the next paragraph.
I think this grief reminds also of many, many cases of depression that we see most nowadays, because the more this capitalism and industries and servitude to the industries, the more it has arisen, and need to have this kind of a house I want, and this much at least I need. So the more our needs and this consumerism has increased, the more we see that even kids, teenagers, we see traces of depression rising up. Very, very common, very, very common. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety. I see people working, taking even medication, because there is just too much, too much. So this grief also is something. And the more we find the need for entertainment, the more I need to go to a mall in order to, pass my day or days, the more it tells me of how much sadness I usually live with.
That's very true. And it's an interesting thing, right? Like me and my husband, like we have everything, right? But then you wonder, it's like, oh, I remember when we used to travel before, it's like, oh, happy living in, motel, who cares? Now it's like, oh, it has to be a certain way. So I feel like, where do you put the stop? And you don't really need those things to be happy. You know what I mean? So it's like, so sometimes when we talk, it's like, okay, we don't need much. Like, you need food, you need clothes, and you need hopefully a place to stay. And that's it. Everything else is bonus, right? Like, and I'm sure you can survive without food. You don't need 20 clothes. You can have 2 pairs of clothes, and who cares what you wear, right? But you're right. Like, you just, keep on expanding, and you want more. And then I think it's a very interesting thing I read about. It's like, the people who, like, it's, you are making like above like 1% of the world, right? You are in the higher, still you are comparing yourself to other people, and then being like, oh, if only I had this. So it's like, you'll never be happy. And I see my friends being stuck in that, and it's like, dude, just chill out. Like, I'm happy, like, so anyways, but it's very true. And that's the cause of also all the pressure, unknowingly we are putting on our kids, and for them to live with that, that's the minimum. It's like, if you expect that's the minimum, and we don't realize that it took us X number of years to get here, right? So that's a lot of pressure for our kids too. So that's not healthy.
Yeah, just to what Aditi was sharing, just to add on, I was talking to a friend, and the blindness that we have is so great of, if that has not fulfilled, this one will. This blindness is so great. Oh my God, right? Really, as if like, do we not see? Do we not see? So she first got married
Yeah.
because she wanted to see how a companionship is. Okay, now many years have passed. She has seen, okay, that it has not given her that fulfillment that she expected from the companionship.
Mm.
Now, the next wish on her list was that to bring actually build a home together with a companion. To buy curtains, to buy furniture. That was on her wish list. This is what she wanted to do. So, she did all that, found a really for two people, they have a 4-bedroom apartment, and now they have actually downsized from 4, they have moved to 3. So, still, the furniture is all that they bought together, the curtains and all that, right? Now there is still something missing,
Oh
because
yeah.
and why? Because two people not on the same spiritual path, the story of our lives, it's like, most of often we find this only, that two people are not, who maybe once they were in love with each other, so-called romantic love, but now they have grown individually, in different directions. Hardly any connection one can find. There is nothing much to talk. The moment they begin to talk, fight happens, because there is a disagreement. Immediately resonance is not there. So first of all, this, I think, lack of understanding with each other, the lack of giving space to each other, that okay, the other person is allowed to be who he is, who she is, and also a lack of mutual, what can I say, I don't know, respect, admiration. Like many a times we have, especially in friends, we respect and admire our friends and love
And
them.
acceptance. Yeah.
Accept.
Yeah, acceptance.
So all that, she can see that it's failing. So she says that, what do I do? What do I do? Because this is not working, and the body is showing up with a lot of diseases. It is
Mhm.
telling that, okay, maybe time to change something. So I have shared with her that, why don't you take a sabbatical from your marriage, and maybe, 1 month spend all by yourself, find your footing and see, how the things are going. But she says that the guy now was saying that, maybe now there is nothing, I'm not saying either guy is wrong or the girl is better, not in that
Mhm.
direction. But the thought that guy had was that, once we have children,
Oh no, please
or
no. Please no.
yeah, that's what I also say. Please
So
don't even go.
no, because I feel you don't want to bring a child and then spoil the kid's life, because you know what? They, like, kids are the next level of strain on your marriage. And if you don't have the
Exactly.
foundation, please don't do that to the kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
so funny.
this is how how blind we can get, that the boy still thinks that once if I have a child, then I will be really responsible. So that's what we were discussing, that do you right now show me any sign of responsibility? That's my question. And that's not there, he's going through a difficult patch, not really responsible, not really even caring for the tasks being allotted at home, day to day daily tasks. So how can I expect that once a child is there, then this will be fulfilled? So this is our blindness. And not even that, talking about buying a plot and building a house there, I mean, please, already I have entanglements, and more I want to put my self in this drain of entanglements, mud of entanglements. So this is our blindness, and I'm very glad that at least one of them that can see that this is highly impractical suggestion. So even that helps.
So,
If one of us begins to see, that also helps the other. Yeah, please, Aditi.
no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But I think when you shared that example, it's funny. I had the same conversation with a friend last Saturday. He's my husband's friend, but then, he's divorced and he's trying to find or meet a girl for a long time. But I feel like and he's not able to understand like why he's not able to. And it's funny, like every time I tell him, like, what do you want? Are you happy the way things are? Do you really need a partner? And if yes, like why? But it's funny, every time like he's sitting idle or he doesn't want to be by himself, so as soon as like he thinks that he has time or he starts sitting, he just leaves. He'll go to XYZ, will go to his parents, will go to his friends. And then he was like, oh, in this next 3 months I'm thinking I'll just pack up and I'll leave. I said, dude, you need to stay put and spend some time. And I told him about this circle, so I'm going to push him again to join it, because what I told him was, it doesn't matter, like it's important to have the right partner rather than having a partner. And then the most important thing is, what are you looking for from your partner? So it's really. And then when I tried to start pointing out the things, he started defending himself, right? So at that point I was like, you do you. I was just trying to be a good friend, right? Like, but I do agree. I feel like there is a lot of like no self-awareness, and people don't want to see what the root cause is and just want to, as you said, like if it's a marriage, okay, maybe we buy a house, it will be better. Or if we have kids, it will be better. When the kids will be there, it will be like, oh my god, like maybe we need some, so you're always running behind things rather than stopping and taking a break and be like, is this really what I want? So um no, I kind of sometimes I see people recommend, and then it's like, okay, let's see where it goes. Where is my popcorn? Okay, I'm being mean now.
Somewhere it's very clear that the way the society is built, just staying put and just continuing with the things is given much more priority, that don't shake things up, right? If you're sad, then just do something. you know I don't know, learn an instrument, वो भी बड़ी बात हो गई, मतलब just do anything, but don't rock the boat, like, because what you shared, it sounds surprising, and yet it is not, because I've seen it in so many, in even Hindi movies, right? That if shadi hogi, then he'll be responsible. When they'll have kids, then they'll be responsible. And it's weird that we want to do this even to our own family, right? Even to our own friends, there will be people who will be saying, no, no, it would happen, it would happen. That is the thing. And what you shared about children, Monica, I just felt that in considering how the mental illness in children is rising, even from birth, because obviously they are absorbing the energies and it's getting genetic, ADHD, all these hyperactivity disorders, and so many order disorders, and depression in children. And still we are not waking up and seeing that there's something not right, right? We just get more commercial, right? If the child is depressed, we'll take them to this therapist and that therapist, and I don't know, blame the partner or do this, but we will not see that why universally, why is it happening? We don't pause, right? We are so busy wanting to run, so sure that this is the only way. It's just shocking that we don't, it's such a big indicator, right? So much mental illness in children and adults these days.
I
Yeah.
think very important point. And also, as mother talks about, even there is a process, even if when you want to conceive a child and all that, mother talks about that, the conception, preconception, how to invoke a soul to come. I think most of our children are born, and you would notice that many of children are product of the lockdown time. It's very not very nice thing to say, because what do you do? Okay, let's have another child. Let's have another child. So I think this is very, very strange that in order to mask our depression and to keep us occupied, not wanting to turn within, how we can play with another life. Very strange. Yeah. Yeah. And it really depends on what kind of a state mother and father were while the conception happened. And that's what children carry. So the thing that you were sharing, that from the beginning one has issues which are coming up. Yeah.
Like Aditi was saying, that it doesn't matter what you have or what you are doing, right? It just matters these days. It feels that at least you're doing something, at least you have someone. But that is very superficial, right? The more, I mean, I'm surprised that he has a divorce. And again, again, people obviously need several wake up calls, for example, in this case, that we don't realize that what are we going for? Where is this taking me, right? Just having a hand to hold, and that hand could be taking me under, in the, I don't know, river of mud. But I don't see that, because right now, and that's what even the passage said in the beginning, that the circumstances or the pressure or the hunger of the vital, or, there's this, it just leads us to pick up things that are not worth even looking at.
This reminds me of this conversation I had with your father once, where we were listening to this teacher, and he was saying that this is the difference between common, so called ordinary people, ordinary consciousness, and people who are like Buddha, for example, that they can't tolerate this suffocation even for a day. And we actually devise ways to mask this suffocation, like malls and entertainments of all sorts, Netflix. I mean, why so much of social media use nowadays? We can see why are all of us hooked to our mobiles. I think that really tells where we are inside. And all that a little child wants to become is become maybe a video game player or something, because all that he sees is adults engaged in this. Yes, Aditi?
No, that's the pain of like my child, like just wanting to play. So I told him, one thing I can ever teach you and you'll be grateful to me is being bored. Like that's my goal. Like it's okay to be bored. You don't have to be entertained 24/7. It's good to be bored. But it's a challenge.
It's
But
very good to be bored. In fact, this idling around that we used to do when we were kids, I think that's really a fountain of creativity that we get connected to, especially in the head. Children imagine a lot. So, they keep imagining things and creating stories in their head when they're idling around. So, yeah, I didn't know that you have a kid, but this would be really a gift. Although he may not be grateful, forget about that.
it's a
That would be
constant.
another expectation. But yes, I think that would be something worth cultivating. I think this would be, maybe one could take this up, cultivating the ability to idle
Bored.
around.
I know. So and Peru knows, like I've always struggled, like I would fill my days, but then now it's like you know what, I don't need that much noise. I don't watch, as much TV. I would just read or do something, right? So, and that's why I tell him, because I'm learning it at a later stage in my life, right? That it's good to be idle. It's good to be bored. It's good to do nothing. It's blissful. My husband can do that all day long, by the way. So you talked about like the different, he's Zen, so I feel like he came in my life so that, and I always say Taru too, like to point me and help me get there, because he doesn't get affected by people or anything. So anyway, so it's so I struggle. So I feel like if I can help him at this point to instill those things, it's gonna go a long way. But I do feel I'm a little bit behind because he's already 11, and but I'm trying.
21, up to 21 years of age, we have time. So don't worry. So and this is very well researched, where Mother and Sri Aurobindo, since they've talked about integral education, psychic education, that the soul to take the front seat and to run the life, to guide consciously the life. That's what we try to do, especially with Mother and Sri Aurobindo schools, where the teaching is based in such a way that we don't distort each and every child. We let him be who he is, and slowly, gently mold and guide in that direction in which the soul demands. So up to 21 years of age, we have. So you have a lot of time, and you've already
Yay.
started. So yeah, be blessed about it. Mm.
Yeah, Vijayji, any comments, any reflections from your end? So I'll take that as a no. So I think we can just, yes, Vijayji, please.
What I'm trying to do is just participate by listening right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So I think we will not take anything new. Maybe we can just read the last passage again, and then we can just end today.
Sure. How do I mute myself?
Yeah, I can do it for you.
Thank you.
So if anybody could read, I've read a lot. Let each take, we can read the whole thing.
I think you'll have to read. The English is too hard for me. How do you even say cognizance? Oh, I can say it. Okay, I'll do it. Let each take cognizance of the Godhead that is within him, for self is God. And in the strength of the soul, divinity create his universe. It does not matter that sort of universe he creates, so long as he creates it. The world created by a Buddha is not the same as that created by a Napoleon, nor should they be the same. It does not prove anything that I cannot become a Kalidasa. For that matter, Kalidas cannot become who I am or what I am. If you have not the genius of a Shankara, it does not mean that you have no genius at all. Be and become yourself. Ma Gritha, okay, you'll have to say that.
Yeah,
Taru.
Kashyatish Dhanam.
Dhanam.
Yeah.
Kashyasit Dhanam, says the Upanishad. The fountainhead of creative genius lies there, in the free choice and the particular delight, the self-determination of the spirit within you, and not in the desire of your neighbor's riches. The world has become dull and uniform and mechanical, since everybody endeavors to become not himself, but always somebody else. Imitation is servitude, and servitude brings in grief. Do you want me to read the next one too?
No, I think we can
Yeah.
end this here. This is
Okay.
enough for today. lot of reflection, contemplation.
I think one can
Yes.
still go on for another hour.
Oh,
Because
it's,
I'm,
yeah.
yeah, it's very, very important, this one. I remind myself while you were reading, I remind myself of, mother talking about a ideal kind of a situation. And she says that when the supramental will, actually, we will live by the supramental manifestation, meaning that everyone is just ruled by that inner divinity and nothing else. Then each one will have a hierarchical place in the system. So what does, and whenever we talk about hierarchy, the mind talks about superior and inferior, but in not in that sense mother says hierarchy. See, she says that each one of us is so unique and special that if you take, like, if there is a puzzle and if you take that piece out, no other piece can fulfill that space. So to own ourselves and to nurture ourselves in such a way that to truly become that piece in that this big jigsaw puzzle, truly without imitation, whatever was being shared. And I think it's also very empowering to become responsible and take onus of our own life, and to nurture in delight all the things that are capable of nurturing in me, which I take joy in, which can be a point of, okay, how can I serve others? Okay, this is my strong point, this is how I can serve. So, and very, very obviously all of us have these points. There is no one born with no strong points. All of us are very, very special in this regard. Like, like Aditi was sharing the capacity of husband to be unaffected, for example, by situations. So again, he has this uniqueness about him. Not everyone can be like him. And Aditi has this, maybe, you know uh, the ability to express what you are feeling, to express honestly what you're going through. So each one of us has very unique permutations and combinations which need to be nurtured. And when we nurture them, then the divine Godhead grows from within. And then we take our true and unique position in this wide world puzzle. And that nobody can change. That nobody can change. So you if you are an HR person, of course they can employ another HR person, but you are not just HR person, you are you. And that nobody can replace. So then their mother talks about true hierarchy, where everyone knows his in evolution, his place, and respects and cares for other people's place also.
I think the
But
puzzle example
yeah.
is beautiful. It's very visual.
Yeah. And same with our children. We often are found trying to put them in certain molds, and we are seeing, oh my God, not fitting here, not fitting here, not fitting here. Oh, there's something wrong with you. We don't find that we are not able to find a niche for that child. We are not able to recognize and nurture his talent so that he can carve out his own, okay, this is where I belong. This is so, and that requires effort, carving out and removing the dust, and okay, oh, this is the figure where I fit in. That requires effort, which we don't want to do.
So I wanna, if you don't mind, I wanna share one thing. So my son is 11, and like I like to read, I like to be outdoors, I like to do hiking, and so it was funny. It was very insightful, and I feel like I have seen more growth in me since I had a kid, because he makes me want to do better as a parent, and an individual, right? So and he goes, so I was like, Ari, you always do this, you always do that, and he was like, Mom, like, why can't you accept me for who I am? And why do you keep forcing me to like things that you like or you think that I should be? And I was like, oh my God. It was like, and I was aware that I do that, but him pointing out, it was like, okay, I need to. So, lately I make it a point that, okay, what do you, but it's so true, because you struggle if they don't fit into that particular mold and they want to do something different. It's like, oh, but then what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to survive in this world? So And it was really, for me, it was very, not hard. It was good because he can call me out on my BS, right? He was like, dude, like, you need to stop doing that. So, but it was like, if he gets it, then I need to stop. So, but it's very true.
And we were talking of, how this idea of earlier we used to just have male and female genders, and now we have all the shades of gray in between. We have now, and people are struggling to find their place in this wide world, which appears to be very modern, but it is not yet open minded to allow that, yes, one can be in between, and one doesn't know that, oh, neither in this mold, not in this mold, I'm somewhere in between. And now we have to find a place to own ourselves, to be, to have honor and dignity for ourselves, that yes, okay, I am somewhere in between, and I am very glad and delighted to be there. So because whenever we talk about these areas of in between, we have this idea of you must be something inferior or something is wrong with you, that you are somewhere in between. I think that's where we need to open our minds, and give those people also, and those of us who are in shades of gray, and we all of us are in shades of gray, just our lives are not open to public, but if the lives come to public, we see that all of us are shades of gray, black and white, to honor and respect that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, the puzzle example was really beautiful. I think that will stay with me. Sometimes when you're especially making puzzles, and I made one very recently with my child. There's some pieces which are so easy to put, right? They have so much, and yet they were plain ones, right? Like you wonder where will they go and how every piece has a place, right? And especially these days, a lot of people have self-love issues, self-worth issues, like not good enough. And yet if you look at the puzzle, even the piece which is the most unattractive puzzle will not be complete without that, right? Like there is a place, and who judges attractive or unattractive?
Yeah, and that's why, that's why mother would say, whenever any person, many stories about that, those people who were considered as like almost like hooligans and not manageable, mother gave them many a times very special attention, because she always said that you look at your weaknesses, but I look at your possibilities.
Mm.
So I think that's what we also have to look at, our own possibilities, and also people around us, our kids, and that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Aditi, you're sharing something? You unmuted. If you want to share it, then we'll close.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I really enjoy these conversations, and I'm normally like I'm driving for the first half, but I'm listening. But but I really appreciate, and I really love these I think these are the most meaningful conversations I have in the whole week. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Aditi. We too
I
appreciate
also
that.
I also appreciate, I look forward to joining the Zoom and, getting good ideas. And I'm open to all those ideas, we were talking today. We have to accept all genders in between or whatever, because they are all created by God. It's not self-choice that I want to be this or I want to be that. We are born that way. So we have to accept all genders as equal.
Yeah, Vijay, you said a
Thank you.
very important line, they are created by God. And I remember that, especially in just when this thing was not acceptable, especially in, the Western worlds, the concept of guilt, that you're shaming our gods by doing this, right?
Yeah.
And how can it be if they are created, which we all are? Like, how could that logic be used to torture
Yes.
them, to torment them, to guilt them into just saying that no, it was just a disease and now I'm cured, when we are
No.
all made of.
No, it is not in their hands. That's how God created them, and we accept God's creation because that's what we believe, that in each one of us there is a soul, and that soul is equal in every one of us. So we not need to respect all genders.
Yeah.
That's true. I think like so we have, like kids same age and the friends, and so sometimes like, so we were having this conversation and one of the mom goes, and then it's like, oh, if I would rather have him, like my child, skip college than turning out to be gay. And my thing was like, but why? If they choose to love, like, who are we to decide whom you love, right? Like you don't love a sex, or you love the soul, you love the person. So how does it matter? It didn't go too far.
Mm.
Then okay, I'll just shut my mouth. It's like, okay, you do,
No,
like that.
that is total ignorance, total ignorance. They need to read more about it, understand more about it. They have to see who they are and accept who they are.
Yes, absolutely.
Children have to do that, and parents and grandparents have to accept them with open arms. Otherwise you're putting them in a corner, and society is there to point at them and take advantage of them.
I agree.
Yeah. I think the more we take responsibility and onus for our own lives, which most part of us we don't, the more we can have equal dignity for each one of us. So I have to start with myself, I think, because if I begin to nurture and honor who I am truly, all my shades of gray, and that I am not black and white, then I think we will be able to honor all around us
Exactly.
also. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's just take this last minute to again just come back to ourselves fully and be grateful for the opportunity of the guidance of so many masters and mystics, and Sri Aurobindo and the mother in this particular case. May we all are able to, take what we have learned and put it into practice. And may we all find peace. And may all beings be well and happy. And let's share whatever merit we have gathered today with all beings in the world. Gratitude. And thank you for joining me and for staying till the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.